Hello, I'm Sunbeam. Recently, I decided to play through Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl. The game was released in 2007, but I never got around to play it until recently. Of course, for this game, I wanted to use the best possible settings the game has to offer. The graphics were no problem, because my GPU could easily handle the game as it was released in 2007. The sound settings, however, gave me some problems. While switching through the menus, I saw that the game had support for EAX, the environmental audio extensions created by Creative back in the day. Most often, EAX was used to create reverb effects in the game. While EAX can improve basically any game, atmospheric and intense games like Stalker gain the most from it. So after seeing that the game supports EAX, I happily activated the button and thought, yes, this is the way to go. But unfortunately, I saw no difference in the game, or actually heard no difference. Well, it turned out that the game happily enabled the button and showed me that EAX was enabled, but actually it was not enabled. In this video, I want to show you the path to EAX enabled in Stalker. What I had to do and what I had to look up in order to really enable EAX in the game and actually make use of it. So, first things first. The game was released in 2007. The operating system that was used back in that day was Windows XP. Only shortly after the release of Stalker, Windows Vista was released. But with the release of Windows Vista, Microsoft dropped the support for anything like EAX. Because of that, no game after the release of Windows Vista made use of EAX. This was really unfortunate for players like us. I always really liked EAX because it enhanced the immersiveness of any game. The first thing that came to mind was Creative Alchemy. This, from what I understand, is a software replacement for EAX, which originally was directly integrated into the hardware of older sound cards. Well, you see, Alchemy is basically a nice thing. It replaces direct sound calls the game makes and replaces them with OpenAL. However, Stalker, which means all three Stalker games, are pure OpenAL games to begin with. So there is no direct sound to replace. So Alchemy is not the solution. I know you can make the game use direct sound by supplying the command line parameter -d sound, but in my tests this made no difference. This means Stalker plus Alchemy, no EAX. The next option was OpenAL Soft. This is some kind of software implementation of OpenAL. I cannot actually tell you the complete details of OpenAL, whether it was software to begin with or made a wrapper for modern Windowses, I cannot tell you that. But that's beside the point. The thing is, OpenAL Soft could have made a difference. One thing OpenAL Soft does is it supports HRTF, which is some kind of 3D positional audio, especially useful for headphones. While trying OpenAL Soft, I saw that Stalker made use of this and it worked, and I had HRTF in the game. Well, but no EAX. So the journey went on. The next thing I tried were the EAX fixes by the user macron or macron, whatever you want. While looking around if someone already fixed the problems with EAX, I found the Russian forum for Stalker. I happily discovered that the people there wanted to fix this problem. So these fixes replaced several DLLs of the game. By using these fixes, I was able to enable EAX in the game. And it was really usable because the console told me that it was present and enabled, which was previously not the case. So I was really happy and thought, well, this is it. But then, the rain started pouring down in the game. And while I was walking through the rain, I realized that the stereo separation had severe issues. You see, I have no footage of this, but imagine that. The sound switched from left to right to left again. This was really disorienting, and I would not have liked to play the game like this. My explanation for this is that the camera bobs around the player's head while walking, and somehow the game sound was messed up by this. Seeing as I had no problems like this before, especially with HRTF, I tried to re-enable HRTF. So I kept reading through the topic on the Russian forum, and this provided me with another link, which led me to EnvFX by the user Antares, which probably stands for Environmental FX. Again, this patch replaces several DLLs of the game. But not only that, it is supposed to enhance the sound options menu. This sounded really cool, so I tried it. But the problem was, the game crashed. I had to add some game files to the game, but when I did this, the game no longer worked. So here we have to take another detour. The problem was, the English and the Russian version of Stalker seem to use different formats for their game files. They don't differ much from each other, but enough so that the Russian game files do not work with the English version of the game. And while the user Antares supports both the English and the Russian version of the game with his patch, the actual game files he supplies are made for the Russian version only. So I searched around for a way to extract the game files. I found a tool which lets me extract Russian game files. So I extracted the gamedata.dbzfx file, which came with the patch, and pasted all the files contained within into the game folder. And now, finally, the game started again. And the sound menu was really expanded. I had several more options. And the most important thing, HRTF and EAX worked. So this could have been the happy ending of this story. But unfortunately, this was not the case. Of course. You see, it was at this point that I realized that although Stalker supports EAX, it does not make any use of it. So what does this mean? Well, you see, in the Stalker editor, level editor, you can supply information about how EAX is supposed to be used in the levels. However, GSC Game World, the developer of the game, only supplied this information for about 2 or 3 or maybe 4 levels of the game. The users of the Russian Stalker forum realized this as well, and they created the necessary files. I had to dig around a lot and used Google Translate to make sense of what was written in the forums. But finally, I found the file with the necessary stuff for EAX. So, after all the talk, here is some footage to show you the difference.
Повалили. Я мандражу, пацаны. Обходим. Берем его тепленького. Атанда!
So I think you could hear the difference. It is especially noticeable in all the areas where there is reverb. And by the way, here is an example of HRTF at work. Listen to the sound the lamp on the ceiling is making. While facing the lamp, the sound is clear. But once you turn away from it, you can hear that the sound is dampened. This simulates the real human hearing. So now that you've seen what it took me to find a solution, and you have seen the comparison videos, it is time for the tutorial part. We'll start with a fresh install of Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl with the version 1.0006. If you want, you can see for yourself that EAX is disabled by opening the console. In my case, I have to press the circumflex key, while on American keyboards you will have to press the tilde or tilde key. Once you have opened the console, scroll up with the page up key until you see a line with something like Sound Open AL. What you will probably see in grey text is a line that says EAX 2.0 absent. So the first thing we want to do is make the console tell us that EAX is enabled and not absent. First you have to download the EnvFX from Antares. Open the file with anything like 7-zip. Go into the SOC folder and copy the files from there to any directory you want. Select and cut the bin folder by using Ctrl-X and paste it in the main Stalker folder using Ctrl-V, so that all the EnvFX files get pasted into the Stalker bin folder. That's step 1. Now you need to extract the game data DB file. So now you need to download the extractor. For the website where I got the extractor, Firefox gave me a warning, so maybe you do not want to go there. But for that reason, I've put a direct link into the description. Once you have the file, extract the extraction utility. Then simply drag the game data file onto the Russian version of the extractor. This will give you 2 additional folders. Now go back into your main Stalker folder and create a new folder called Game Data. Depending on your setup, you may already have this folder. Now take the 2 EnvFX folders you extracted and put them into the Game Data folder. Usually, Stalker would automatically load any game data files. However, since we had to extract the files, we have to tell Stalker to look in the game data folder. For this, go to your main Stalker folder and look for a file called fsgame.ltx. Open the file in any text editor. Look for the line which has game data in it, which is probably the second line. Within this line, replace any occurrence of false with true. This makes Stalker use the game data folder we just created. Now you can start Stalker again and look into the console. Stalker should now report that EAX is present. When you go to the sound menu, you can see that it is expanded and has several more options. Make sure EAX is enabled. You can also enable HRTF if you want to. I'm not completely sure about this, but if you want to be on the safe side and you're using headphones, set the stereo mode to headphones. This may affect how HRTF is used in the game. So there you have it. You now have working EAX in the game. However, as I said before, this is not everything. Technically, EAX is now working, but the files necessary for the game to actually use it are still missing. This is where the additional files of Macron and the others come into play. Go to the forum with Macron's post and download the file. Open the file and extract the game data folder. Cut this folder again with Ctrl-X and paste it in the main Stalker folder, so all the files from the one game data folder end up in the Stalker game data folder. After all this, you should be set. Now go into the game and check if everything's working. One of the easiest places to check this is right in the beginning of the game. Simply walk into the cellar of the building and you can hear it for yourself. So there you have it. Now you should have working EAX and HRTF in the game. As a side note, EnvFX is supposed to work with Clear Sky and Call of Pripyat too. However, I think that Clear Sky 2 has no EAX information for the levels. But then again, no one likes Clear Sky anyway. I'm not sure about EAX in Call of Pripyat, but as far as I know, user-created files only exist for Shadow of Chernobyl. At this point, I want to thank all the people who worked hard to make EAX work in the game. I hope this video helps anyone out there wanting to try EAX in their game. If I could help you with this, please tell me so in the comments. Thanks for watching and have a good time with Stalker. Of course, no Stalker video can end without...
Get out of here, Stalker.